Welcome back everybody, it's Hadrada here again today with another teaser video, and this one's actually going to be an interview with Rabdag here, of course a tournament player on Team Cheese. I'm going to be asking him a few questions not related about strategy or meta, but more so about the general thoughts on the tournament, just to see to gauge community and player opinion on how the tournament's potentially going to look like. So let's dive right into it then. My first question that I was wondering about is, how has your team been? How has your team been doing? Is there a lot of preparation and theory crafting going on? How has it overall looked like for you guys?
It's been good. We just confirmed very recently that we actually will have players, I think, for every game, so that's good. That's always kind of a good first step. We won't have to forfeit any matches. As far as strategy goes, Cheese and I did some strategy before we knew we were going to be on the same team way back when the tournament was first announced, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I thought back then the rules were going to be 2 points per kill. Is that right? Instead of the 1?
That has been discussed, I think, yeah, but there's no
so
final, yeah.
So maybe our strategies changed a little bit, but since the draft, it's been kind of quiet. I think everyone's been doing a little bit of their own thinking about the settings because they're kind of weird, right? The 2v2v2, it's pretty fun idea, especially because I don't know, ancient Civ gets a little dry sometimes, so it's nice to spice it up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely nobody's played on these settings ever, so there's really no meta beforehand, and people have quite different opinions from what I've been able to gauge so far. Then next thing I was wondering about is actually team balance overall. I'm not sure if you've got all the lineups memorized or written down or anything, but
no, I don't have them memorized, but I have a pretty good idea.
All right, yeah, that's good enough. We don't have to talk about specific individual players anyways, but just what you thought, disregarding maybe the randomness factor in availability or whatever, but just from the lineups, is there any favorites out of the gate?
Yeah, I would say from the lineups, if you don't consider availability, it's got to be Halu's team who's the favorite. But that being said, I tend to think that Anti's team probably has the most strong players available.
Okay.
Because it's hard for me to imagine a 2v2 that's stronger than Biz and Halu. And as a secondary to have SDN follow that up as well. That's like a really strong top 3. But the problem for them is I don't know how available Halu is. And Byzantine Fire apparently is going to be decently available, but he's definitely just not as active as like some other players.
Yeah, I haven't.
I would not be surprised to see Kismet play in 7 of the 9 games or something like that. So
yeah, I could see it definitely. And of course, this is a very subjective thing because people have very different opinions on each other. Just what I thought was fun is that in the last weeks I've heard some wildly differing opinions on Byzantine Fire. I've heard people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've had people privately talk to me say that this guy's like the ultimate wild card. He's actually such a good player, but I've seen him lately doing some very questionable shit, and I'm nervous. So it's interesting, right, to see how people are actually gonna perform when it comes down to it, and maybe him. I haven't seen him in the last couple of days, anyways, and he's not played in any tournaments yet. So you never know how it actually ends up unfolding then.
Yeah, exactly. I think. Well, here's the thing. For players that have been around long enough, you'll know how strong Biz can be, and so that's why it's not a comfortable thing going up against him. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense that he went so early in the draft for sure. So no surprises there. I just hope he's gonna be able to get a couple of games in so we can get those broadcasts. That would be fun. All right then. now I want to spin it back to another topic that we've maybe grazed, that being the scoring system that we're using here, because of course you've got two
Yeah.
ways. You've got two ways of getting scores, scoring points for the tournament. You can get scores off of placing highly in terms of score, but you can also get points just from killing people. So
Yeah.
just as an example, right? If you get 2 kills, that's 2 points, and that's the difference between one rank in score, right? So
Yeah.
you can basically make up the fact that you finished second place in score by getting 2 more kills than the first place
Yeah.
team. So that being said, what do you think that means for how the games are actually going to play out? Is the focus more so going to be on kills or on scoring? What's your thoughts there?
I think first of all, it's going to very largely depend on who's actually in the game. Because
Okay.
some people like specialize in getting kills. It feels like, and their game plan is going to be, even if our team gets second, if we get 2 kills and don't die, even if the other team just outscores us in at the end of the 70 turns or whatever, we'll tie them and that'll be fine. Um, and some people are much more known for like building score, and they kind of specialize in knowing how much they could get away with that kind of play. So I think it will largely depend on that. I personally think it would have been really interesting to have had the 2 points per kill rule, because then you the incentive is really to just start smashing into people, because it's like, with 1 point per kill, it feels almost like a risk, if like risk strategy. You don't really want to attack people until you're attacked, because if 2 people are fighting, the third is stronger and stuff like that, and it's like guaranteed value if your 2 opponents are fighting each other. um, but that being said, I do think there's still going to be a lot of strategy, especially on late game kills, because those usually don't matter in normal MPT. Like getting a kill within the last 5 turns, unless it's the last player in a team, doesn't usually do anything. But in this one, it might actually be that we see a lot of slow build, and then with like no time left for someone else to retake, you just go for an all-out kill and hope to snag a point right at the end. So I think the settings are gonna be interesting, because I think to play optimally, you're gonna have to play different than normal MPT.
Oh, absolutely. You're completely right there. The ideal kill is the very late one where you don't expose yourself too much, of course.
Yeah.
Just one thought there, because you said obviously early kills and early fighting can be dangerous, actually. I think it's also, as always, with these general discussions, it's always going to come down to the specific circumstances, right? Because if you're picking
Absolutely.
Aztecs or picking Zulu, then trading
Yeah.
your life for an enemy Celts or something could very well be worth it, because you're gonna get outscored likely anyways by them.
Yeah. Well, and the tricky thing is also, I think there's going to be a lot of meta play, especially once you get to like day 4.
Yeah.
If like one team is pulling away, the 2 teams that are lagging behind are probably not going to fight each other as much,
Oh
because
yeah, no.
they're going to try and catch up to because it's aggregate scoring. So I think that's going to be a big part of the strategy eventually, but that's hard to account for before you start. Who's going to start pulling away and whatnot. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. This is gonna be. It's still a huge question mark, and you're completely right. I expect this to shift heavily once the first results start coming in. Um, yeah. Then
in
lastly,
some ways,
oh
oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say, in some ways, it feels like you could almost, if you had perfect scheduling, a bit like you knew exactly um, who could play when. It would be almost like ideal to leave all of your best players to the end, because you wouldn't be a target towards the end of the tournament because you're lagging behind so much. But you could accumulate enough kill points and score points to actually take the tournament at the end. Because if you're going to play the same number of games either way, you might rather your good players play at the end than at the beginning.
Yeah, technically, but only because, as you're saying, only because of the mind games. Because like technically,
Right,
the
right,
points the
exactly.
points are the same value no matter when you get them, right? So,
Exactly. It's just your uh the amount that people will target you is going to be less if you're
oh, that's for
if,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. So then, yeah, let's move on to the last point here, and that's more of a personal question there, because we've got three different types of maps here for in terms of the resource distribution, and I was just
Mhm.
wondering what personally, which one of those you are most looking forward to, because they are going to be played out very differently, at least in terms of civ picks, I imagine. So I wonder what's your take
Yeah.
there.
I think that I like the horse only cap. I think that'll be the most fun,
All right.
personally.
In terms of the civs, you just enjoy horse civs, or?
I enjoy horse sims, but I also think like one of the all iron, I will say, will probably be the most boomy game of all of them because it's going to be a lot of like, expanding and defending with swordsmen and stuff like that. And you can get away with more greed because you'll be upgrading into a defensive unit kind of. Um, the mix will be interesting. I think the mix will be. I don't really know how to view how that's going to go yet. I haven't done a lot of thinking about that one. But the horse one, it feels like it's harder to get away with greed on in a horse map because if everyone has access to two movers, then everyone's going to either be playing more safe or more aggressive. And so if they're playing more safe and less boomy, then eventually they're going to have to do more fighting. Otherwise, Money Lady's going to just ruin them. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure, I can see that. I can see the horse one being the most entertaining one. Although I still think that the mixed one is the most interesting one from a strategy perspective, because
Yeah, that one I think will be really interesting. I just don't I don't have a great idea of how that's going to play out yet.
no,
So,
it'll
yeah.
depend. It'll totally depend who's your neighbor and whatever. Because on the other maps, you know that your neighbor has got the horse cap or has got the iron
Yeah.
cap. But on the mixed one, well, you know once you find them, but you don't know beforehand.
And trying to decide like if you pick for iron or pick for horse first will be interesting as well.
Absolutely. I hope everybody, that's such a great segue actually. I hope everybody will be looking forward to my strategy talk video, especially on the mixed map ones and all the other teaser videos that are coming out this week. Thanks to Rabdag, of course, for joining here, and thanks to everybody for watching. I hope you'll turn into the tournament on February 13th. That's a Monday. Mark your calendars and turn the notifications on my stream on so you don't miss out.